Good morning. Hey, as we're reflecting on Jacob this week, one of the last points that we made in our message last weekend was this old kind of line that in the vineyard we've grabbed from one of our early mentors, John Wimber. And he said this: never trust a leader that doesn't walk with a limp. Never trust a leader who hasn't wrestled with their own imperfections, their own life with God in such a way that you can actually see the results of that in their lives. A leader who doesn't have a limp has probably never really wrestled with God in a way that has confronted their own weaknesses, their own insecurities, their own inabilities, their own failures. I made this comment in the message that the leader who looks like they've constantly got it all together is probably hiding something. And it's one of the most dangerous kinds of leaders. It's one of the most dangerous kinds of people. There's a depth and a quality of life that comes with wrestling with God. And there's a gigantic difference in the way that kind of leader views themselves and treats other people. And one of the most important things as a leader, like in any part of life, but especially in the church, is that we're not using those that we lead to try to get something for ourselves. We're not reaching into the people that we're trying to lead to make ourselves feel better or more secure. That our security actually comes from our relationship with God and the new identity that He's given to us. We've wrestled those things to the point where, like, the weaknesses in our lives we're not trying to hide those anymore because you won't like us if you don't see the weakness. We just let the weaknesses show, and we just are who we are in relationship with God, constantly changing and growing and adjusting and becoming better leaders and better humans as God continues to heal us. But leaders need to do all of that publicly and own that. Humility is like an incredibly important leadership principle. So let me make this applicable to all of us, because I think all of us are actually leading something somewhere. Every single one of us. Listen, you're attempting to lead your own life. You may be doing it really well, you may be doing it horribly. You're leading your life. And as we lead our lives, and then others begin to follow in certain ways, as we lead other people, humility, being willing to own that limp, having wrestled with God, having had God do things to you before He does things through you, is incredibly important. And so I'd like to invite all of us to once again take ownership of leading our own lives. Your life is heading somewhere. You're doing it. All of our decisions are adding up to something. The way that we cope with loneliness, the way that we cope with isolation, the way that we cope with like all of the different ideas out there about COVID-19, the way that we cope with a never-ending cycle of conspiracy theories. The way we cope with all of that is actually leading our lives somewhere. For me, as I reflect on all this, I want my life to be led to the foot of the cross, to the person of Jesus, in submission and surrender, so that little bit by little bit, I become more like Him. And so, Lord Jesus, would You give us the grace to continue to come to You, moment by moment, day by day. And all the things that we feel insecure about, all the things that we feel like are up in the air, that are swirling around us, would You meet us in the midst of that swirl, in the midst of that cyclone of thoughts and ideas and opinions? Would You center our hearts in You? And would You give us grace to turn to You and become the loving, compassionate, truthful people that You've called us to be? God bless you.